Good morning and welcome to this session of HR Bites. I am Kelly Hallett, Head of HR Team Service here at Harrison's. Looking forward to delivering today's topic to you on REM reviews and salary benchmarking. Our HR Bites series are short and sharp, 15 to 20-minute presentations. So whilst we won't have time for questions during this session, you can absolutely reach out to us with any questions. I'll pop our contact details up at the end. We would love to chat. A little disclaimer though before we kick off, we're not lawyers here at Harrison's and we're not providing legal advice. We're also not providing any specific advice to your organisation because each organisation and situation is unique. However, we will hopefully be delivering some useful and valuable content that you can take away and apply accordingly. A little bit about Harrison's and the services we offer. We have 4 key service streams. We have our generalist consulting, which is the most sort of traditional, what you would think about when you hear the word consulting, and that is supporting with anything people related, whether it's workplace relations, you've got an org redesign that you want to do, a culture change project, an employee engagement survey, we can help with that. Then we have our HR team service model, which is where you effectively outsource your HR function to us or the management of it. We assign you a dedicated HR manager and we integrate, look, feel, act like part of your team day to day. We also offer a recruitment and onboarding service if you do have key positions that you're looking to fill. And lastly, My HR Experts, which is our online subscription service. It's a bit of a DIY portal if you have the will and the inclination to manage HR yourself, but you just need access to some tools, templates, and resources. Okay, so before we dive into the methodology around remuneration reviews, let's establish why salary benchmarking is absolutely critical for organisational success. Research consistently shows that companies with robust benchmarking practices reduce employee turnover. It's not just about paying competitive salaries, it's about creating a systematic approach that demonstrates fairness and transparency to your workforce. Effective benchmarking also dramatically improves your recruitment success rate because candidates can see that you're serious about fair compensation. From a compliance perspective, particularly with gender pay gap reporting and equal pay legislation, benchmarking provides the documented evidence you need, as well as allowing you to remain competitive within the market. Finally, and crucially for commercial viability, proper benchmarking actually helps control compensation costs by ensuring you're neither overpaying or underpaying relative to what the market standards are at any point in time. Effective market research relies on multiple data sources to create a comprehensive picture. Salary surveys from established providers like IML and Pro Bono, though they can be expensive. You can also download salary surveys, often free of charge, from recruitment agencies such as Hayes, Robert Walters, and Michael Page. A bunch of them do it. However, paid surveys provide detailed role descriptions, geographic variations, because that certainly does have an impact, and industry-specific insights that are invaluable for accurate benchmarking. Job boards have also become increasingly sophisticated with platforms like LinkedIn providing real-time salary insights based on actual job postings and candidate expectations. Don't overlook the power of professional networks either. These are your connections through sector-specific associations and informal peer groups. They can provide contextual information that pure data cannot, and that's more relevant in some industries than others. Finally, there are government sources and publicly available information. There's the Workplace Gender Equality Agency, who provide excellent baseline data and are particularly useful for sector benchmarking. The key is to triangulate across multiple sources to validate your findings. You don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket and rely too heavily on one data source when you're conducting your market research. Building an effective benchmarking framework requires a systematic approach. You want to start by defining your job roles with precision, because vague job descriptions lead to inaccurate comparisons. It's not useful to salary benchmark on position title alone, and unfortunately, we do see this happen quite often. You want to include key responsibilities, the required qualifications, reporting relationships, and decision-making authority. Detail ensures you're comparing like with like. Next, you want to select the appropriate comparators. Again, this isn't just about finding similar job titles. You want to be looking at the size of the company, the industry sector, geographic location, which can impact, and organizational complexity. A marketing manager at a 50-person startup has a very different scope of responsibility than one at a multinational corporation. When analyzing data, focus on total compensation, not just the base salary. So this includes benefits, bonuses, equity, and other perks that may be included. And it's typically best to calculate multiple percentiles. So you want to be looking at the 25th percentile, so the lower end, the 50th percentile, which is average, midway, and the 75th percentile, which is the higher end. And by looking at those percentiles, it gives you a range to work with rather than a single point. So when you are having a think about where you'd like to sit, where you'd like your organization to sit, whether you just want it to be sort of compliant, average, or you really want to be an employer of choice and attract the best talent in this space. And finally, create pay ranges that provide flexibility for performance differentiation whilst maintaining competitive positioning, because we want to make sure that the salary bands that we're setting up have clear progression pathways within the organisation. This also really helps with employee engagement, because there are no secrets around what they're being compensated for and what they need to do and how they need to get there to progress to a higher level within that pay range. Moving on to the REM review process. So this is done a little bit differently between organisations, and we've seen lots of different ways that has been done throughout the years. The REM review process really needs to be systematic, fair, and defensible. So preparation is crucial. You want to be gathering performance data from the past 12 months, including objective achievements, competency assessments, and feedback from multiple sources. It's important to note that the REM review process should be held completely separate from the performance review process. This allows employees to speak freely and openly during performance review discussions, fostering an environment where they can be vulnerable and accountable without fearing it will negatively impact their pay increase. Simultaneously, ensure your market benchmark data is current and relevant. During individual assessment, evaluate each employee against the predetermined criteria. This isn't just about hitting targets. Consider how they achieved the results, their contribution to team performance, and the development of others. How have they aligned to the company values? Because that's just as important from a performance perspective as hitting those KPIs. The market comparison phase is where benchmarking becomes actionable. This is where you're putting that background research and data into play. Position each individual's current compensation against your benchmarked data, considering their performance level, experience, and potential. For larger organizations or those with similar roles across different departments, an additional crucial step is the calibration process. This involves reviewing proposed remuneration adjustments across various teams or departments to ensure fairness, consistency, and alignment with the overall compensation philosophy. Uh, you don't want one really lenient manager allowing a really high pay increase for people of a certain role and level, and another manager who may be a little bit more firm on the REM review process, creating a discrepancy for roles within the organisation that are really quite similar. That's what that calibration is for. Finally, the decision-making phase requires balancing multiple factors. So, of course, you need to consider your budget constraints, the internal equity and how fair that will be, the market positioning, and the retention risk. Document your rationale clearly. This transparency builds trust and provides protection against potential bias claims. It's not without its risks. Even experienced HR professionals can fall into common benchmarking traps. Outdated data is perhaps the most frequent error. In today's rapidly changing market, salary information older than 12 months can be dangerously misleading, particularly in high demand sectors like technology and healthcare. Inappropriate comparisons occur when we focus too heavily on job titles rather than the actual responsibilities and scope. Again, a manager title can mean vastly different things across organizations. Geographic errors, increasingly common with remote work. Don't assume London rates, for example, apply to all UK locations. Even in Australia, if it's a national business, the differences between states can be seen when we're looking at comparing like for like roles. And be careful about international comparisons without adjusting for purchasing power. Of course, this is relevant to international organisations only. Sample size issues often arise when using free or limited data sources. So several data points might seem adequate if they've interviewed or reported on, say, 5 positions, but that may not be representative of the broader market. So you always want to validate your findings against multiple sources and question results that seem too good to be true. Having a look now from a total rent perspective and looking at the variable pay items, bonus and incentive design requires careful balance between motivation and cost control. So start with clear design principles. Every incentive needs to align with a specific business objective, whether it's revenue growth, customer satisfaction, or operational efficiency. Measurable outcomes are non-negotiable, subjective bonus decisions. Sorry, measurable outcomes are non-negotiable because subjective bonus decisions create inconsistency and potential legal issues, not to mention disengagement. Where possible, balance individual achievement with team performance to avoid creating silos. Market competitiveness is crucial, but remember that total compensation matters more than any single element. It's also important that bonus structures are discretionary and clearly separate from the core employment contract to maintain flexibility and avoid unintended entitlements for the organisation to be paying out. Cost predictability helps with budgeting, so consider caps and thresholds to manage the financial exposure. Some of the common structures include annual performance bonuses, typically ranging between 10 to 25% of salary, quarterly payments for sales or operational targets, and longer term incentive plans for retention and strategic focus. Recognition and awards for exceptional contributions that can take on many different faces. The key is consistency in application and clear communication and expectations. So there's no surprises. There's no guesswork around what to expect in this space. Pay is important to people. How can Harrison's help? We can do an award and pay audit for you, but I just want to highlight that the salary benchmarking process is very different to the award and pay audit. The award and pay audit is making sure you're meeting your minimum obligations, whereas your salary benchmarking is making sure that you are competitive in the marketplace. So the award and pay audit is a great place to start because you want that strong foundation to make sure there are no underpayments occurring. We can assist with drafting robust job descriptions. You may think and feel like you know what someone does or how much value they add, but having that really clearly set out is invaluable for performance management, recruitment, and of course, REM reviews and benchmarking. We can complete the industry benchmarking for you. We will do the market analysis. We access several paid sources and also look into job boards and make sure that we've got several different data points for your key positions. We can look at working with you to customize your REM review process and roll that out within the organisation so that it's clear and fair. And we can also draft a bonus incentive policy and agreement for you, whether you've got something in place already or you would like that you would like reviewed or you would like something introduced from scratch. We can absolutely help with that. If you want to have a chat about anything that I have run through today, here are our contact details. Any questions, comments, feedback, or suggestions even for future webinar topics, please reach out to us. We'd love to have a chat. Thank you so much for your time today. We do run these HR Bites sessions monthly. So the next session is around managing poor performance and misconduct, specifically avoiding pitfalls of the disciplinary process. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. I will hopefully see you online then. Thanks again so much for attending. I'm Kelly Hallett for Harrison's. Bye for now.